Chapter 10. Detective Halstead's Brother. After an eventful last couple of weeks, Emerson had been going to a therapist so she could properly put the whole Lolo thing behind her. Turns out it uncovered some other things too, things she wasn't sure she was ready to talk about yet. So she skipped her last few sessions, putting it off. Things with Peter also started getting better. The two partners had taken some time to actually talk about it, get things off their chests. Peter told Emerson that he was sorry about his behavior, but he had a lot on his mind. He had been in the process of trying to get cleared for duty, and his family were very against it, making him distracted more than ever. So he apologized for everything and told her he wished to start fresh, and she gladly agreed to it. She stayed busy for the past couple of weeks, barely even getting any time to go socialize at Molly's or even with her family. Her mother did call, though, telling her that if she was happy, so was the rest of the family. Emerson thanked her for the call and moved on from her comment, knowing it wasn't worth mulling over anyway since they didn't understand. They couldn't. Luckily for her, work also kept her very busy. Emerson drove behind Truck 81. The only sounds she could make out were the sirens wailing and the horns honking through the busy streets of Chicago. Soon enough, they arrived on scene, where many people were evacuating a very large building due to a gas leak. Maine, gonna need a level 1 hazmat response. Chief Bowden spoke on the air, sending Casey up a ladder to evacuate 2 of the employees that were stuck on the roof. Emerson and Peter were checking on the people that did make it out of the building as an explosion boomed inside the building. Hey, an ammonia explosion like that produces very little fire. We are going to wait for hazmat to breach, boys. It's too dangerous. Come on down. Hey, Chief, we can get the workers on the roof. At least let us do that. Severide asked, still on the ladder. Okay, 2 minutes. Chief agreed to it, giving them more them. Emerson and Peter got straight back to work, focusing on the patients that were with them. Nearest Ambo's 5 minutes out. Chief informed Peter as he climbed off the rig and walked up to him. Chief, victims are in respiratory distress. We can load 2 or 3 into the squad, Severide suggested right as another company got on scene. We'll head to Chicago Med and help offload, Casey offered. Okay, Mills, call ahead. Tell them that their day is going to be a whole hell of a lot busier. Anhydrous ammonia victims, 30 more coming. Peter said to the head nurse as they strolled into Chicago Med, Emerson focusing on ventilating the victim they had on their gurney. Put them in 3. The firefighters arrived with a lot more victims right after them, the nurses and doctors coming in heavy, ready to treat them. Emerson heard April Sexton talking to the patient in the waiting room from the other side of the ER, asking them to be patient and trying to give them instructions depending on the reason why they came in. Suddenly, a man stood on a chair next to her and yelled, "If you thought Ebola was a nightmare, I am the apocalypse." He grabbed something Emerson couldn't make out from the other side of the room as people started running and screaming in fear. Death to all Americans. You're all dead in 2 weeks. Allahu Akbar. The paramedic didn't even get to register what the man meant before Kelly jumped on him and pushed him off. A bomb went off, knocking almost everyone down in the ER as the alarm started blaring. What'd he say? The bomber? A doctor asked Casey, slowly getting up after being thrown off by the explosion. Something about being worse than Ebola. The doctor noticed people rushing out of the ER. We need to lock down the ER. No one in or out, now, he told the firefighters, needing their help now more than ever. Chief, some guy just blew himself up, said what he has is worse than Ebola. Casey radioed in after the chief asked what happened. The doctor grabbed his radio, finishing off the message himself. We need everyone brought back in that could be infected. The men outside got straight to work, bringing everyone back inside the ER, no matter the cost. Inside the ER, Casey noticed a ceiling fire caused by the bomb that went off. Mills, you and Weller okay? Casey asked them as Emerson checked on a man who had gotten hurt during the blast. All in one piece, Lieutenant. Look for injuries. Help out however you can. Hey, over here. It's Severide. Emerson heard Herman calling out, both her and Mills rushing towards him. Hey, Kelly, you hear me? Emerson grabbing his wrist, feeling for a pulse. It's a weak pulse. Trauma to his back and chest. He's got shrapnel from the grenade, Peter Mills added. Let me see. The doctor from earlier said, getting to his knees next to them. No. Black tag him. He's gone. What? His words took both paramedics by surprise. They knew that in a crisis like this, triage was very important, and deep down they knew the doctor was right. But this was Severide. The percentages are very low that heal. I don't give a damn about percentages. Peter snapped, and the doctor seemed to realize where they were coming from. Nodding his head, he gestured to the other side of the room. No problem. Grab a gurney. Peter got up and went ahead to grab a gurney, while Casey let the chief know their situation. The men lifted Severide up on the gurney. Trauma Bay 4. Get him on oxygen and start cutting off the jacket, but wait to uncover the wound. I'll be right there. The doctor told the paramedics, who got to it right away. Eventually, another surgeon came in the room to work on Severide, while the doctor they spoke to earlier occupied himself with other things. The doctor's phone rang as he walked through the ER. As he noticed the name on the screen, he immediately picked it up. Tell me you're not in there. The doctor's brother, Jay, asked from the other side of the phone. I am. Listen, the guy who blew himself up in here said he had something worse than Ebola. What, like he's spreading it with this? Jay asked, glancing at Adam, who stood beside him waiting for an update. Yeah, every single one of us in here has been in contact with him. Who was he? No idea. Do us all a favor and find out, would you? Will answered, just about to hang up before he heard his brother's voice, Ag. Hey, weird question. I see trucks from Firehouse 51 out here. You got paramedics in there? Will furrowed his eyebrows, confused. Yeah. 2. A blonde woman and her partner, a guy. They're okay. Why? Jay sighed deeply, relieved to know that they were okay. After all, there was no doubt that it was Emerson and Peter, so he was worried. Just wondering. I'll let you get back to it. Be careful. With that, Jay hung up and Will went straight back to work, being called by a firefighter. Damn it. His sats are dropping. Start bagging while I dress the wound. Dr. Tramble ordered, and Emerson got straight to work, needing her to pull through and get Severide back to health. We need to intubate. Now. She told Peter as his stats dropped some more, the monitor beeping. Peter grabbed everything they needed and brought them with him, pushing 20 milligrams of etomidate. Intubating. Peter called. I can't find the cords. Come on, you got this. Emerson encouraged him, Dr. Tramble looking closely. Take a deep breath and pull straight up, she advised, watching him do exactly as she said. All right? I got it. The three of them watched the monitor, waiting for his stats to change. He's stabilizing. Emerson noticed, sighing in relief. Okay, listen to me. We got to get a chest tube in and make sure these other wounds didn't do more damage. The doctor told them, both paramedics nodding in response. Whatever you say. Emerson nodded, ready to do whatever the doctor needed, just so Severide would be okay. The doctor worked silently on Severide for a while, up until they heard her starting to mutter something to herself. No adhesion between the lung and chest wall. Eventually, Otis and Casey noticed that the fire was spreading and they were out of extinguishers. Rice and crews were sent in with O2 tanks, ready to take out the fire so that everyone in the ER could have a fighting chance. Outside, the bombers' parents rushed in, so Goodwin sent them towards the tent CPD had set up near the ER while the firefighter got the fire out. Oh, come on, the doctor groaned after getting a few pieces out of Severide's body, which wasn't too encouraging to the paramedics. What is it? Peter asked, the shrapnel between his ribs. I can't get the angle to grip it. I need rib spreaders. She answered, turning to Emerson. Go find me a thoracotomy tray. Emerson hurried out of the room, heading straight to the nurse's station, as she knew it would be where most medical personnel would be. I need a thoracotomy tray, she called out, her voice immediately alerting Matt and April. She was handed one immediately, rushing back to the secluded room. Here it is. Peter grabbed it from her, letting her continue the bagging. I need another set of hands, the doctor said, hoping one of them would volunteer. Tell me what to do. Peter jumped in, standing right in front of the surgeon. Okay, when I say so, turn this and spread it open slowly, she explained, the monitor beeping steadily in the background. Now. All right, that's good, Dr. Tramble said, reaching in. Oh, damn it, I lost it again. Emerson glanced at the monitor. Sats are dropping, 78%. Weller, I need you to take down the balloon on the ET tube and push it into his right mainstem. The doctor asked her, so with furrowed eyebrows, she immediately complied. But then it won't ventilate his left lung, Peter pointed out. Then I'm going to cut the inferior pulmonary ligament and move his lung out of the way. She further explained, Ready? Now. Emerson's heart beat loudly in her chest as she heard Severide gag, her eyes noticing the doctor from earlier walking in. One more piece. Everyone stood outside of the room, nervously waiting to hear, quite literally, any good news. Got it. The doctor pulled the last piece out, all of them sighing in relief. Emerson's eyes focused on the open part of his chest, her eyes widening as blood started spurting out. Arterial bleeder, she called, catching the doctor's attention, who immediately got back to work. The shrapnel hit the intercostal artery. Hold this, she said, handing Peter one of her tools as the other doctor stood on the other side of them, observing. All right, I need a suture. Emerson turned towards the monitor, sighing in relief. Heart rate normalizing. Vitals are stable, she smiled, the expression reassuring everyone that stood outside. Wait, I love being wrong. The doctor spoke with a light smile, sending a nod their way before heading out of the room to let them finish up. Casey let their chief know as an infections specialist asked Herman for some blood so she could know if what the man carried was contagious or not. Outside, Adam and Jay spoke with Dr. Charles, head of psychiatry, to try and figure out why the man did what he did. Herman walked out of the room, catching everyone's attention. They all patiently waited for him to speak up, knowing their fate relied on whatever he was going to say next. Not contagious. Sighs of relief were heard all over the room, and Emerson finally felt her heartbeat stabilizing. The specialist walked behind Herman, addressing everyone. Influenza A tested positive, but the Marburg virus didn't have time to incubate. Whatever he had in his body died with him. Relieved, everyone started cheering and applauding. Open up the ER, Will called, everyone getting right on it. He got one of his earlier patient prepped for surgery as he noticed the paramedics from earlier walking by him. Hey, Weller and Mills, right? Emerson seemed surprised that he knew their names as they hadn't introduced themselves to him just yet. Yes, she said, glancing at the name on his lab coat. Her eyes widened as they read Halstead. A small chuckle left his lips as he noticed her expression. You two did good work today, he told them sincerely. Mills thanked him, shaking his hand before walking off. Thanks, Dr. Halstead. She trailed off, hesitating. You wouldn't by any chance be Detective Halstead's brother? He finished for her, and she nodded, a smile appearing on his lips. I am. Nice to meet you, Weller. The paramedic smiled, shaking his hand. Nice to meet you, too. I've got to go, but thanks for everything, she sincerely said, waving at him before rushing off to join her partner and finally leaving the ER. When are you going to hear about your placement? Emerson asked Mills as they sat around a table at Molly's over drinks. Peter passed his medical exams and all, then he applied for a placement back in a squad truck. Peter shrugged, I don't know. Soon, I've been told. Well, I'm going to miss you stinking up the front seat, Emerson joked, taking a sip of her drink. Peter scoffed, a smile plastered on his lips anyway. Well, that should explain your liberal use of that cheap perfume. She slapped his arm, letting out a gasp and earning a chuckle from him in response. Their laughter died down when someone walked up to them, taking a seat next to Peter. Hey, I never properly introduced myself, Dr. Halstead said with a smile on his face as he put his beer down on the table. Will Halstead. He introduced himself, shaking their hands as a sign of a proper introduction. Emerson chuckled. Very nice to meet you, Will. I'm Emerson Weller. This is Peter Mills. She didn't get to say anything else before someone else sat next to her, stealing her focus. Well, the brother, Jay chuckled. Don't tell me this one yapped. He gestured at his brother with the tip of his beer bottle. Will jokingly scoffed. Come on, I was just here to introduce myself to the best paramedics I've ever seen. His tone wasn't completely serious, so she figured he wasn't really being literal. I was ready to black tag one of them, and this guy convinced me not to. And guess what? He was right. Will explained to his brother, pointing at Peter with his thumb. Jay nodded, impressed, as Peter playfully rolled his eyes and stood up. All right, that's enough for me. I'll talk to you guys later." Peter tapped Will's shoulder and walked off, heading straight to the bar. They chuckled as he walked off, leaving Emerson with the two brothers. "So, Will, where have you been hiding? Jay never told me about you," Emerson stated, grabbing her glass. Will faked a gasp, bringing his hand to his chest, feigning offense. "You don't talk about me?" Jay rolled his eyes playfully. "What do you want me to say?" "You're a troublemaker." Even though Jay was joking, she could tell there might have been an inch of a truth to his words. "All right, you're not wrong." Will smiled, deciding to leave it at that. "I just moved back from New York, might stick around for a while." He vaguely spoke, earning a nod from his brother as he raised his glass. Will did the same, taking a drink from it afterwards. "I'll leave you two to it. I should probably mingle with my new coworkers. I'll see you around, Emerson, and I'll see you at home, Jay." "See you around, Will." Emerson smiled at the red-haired doctor, watching him walk off before she turned to Jay. "Busy day?" she asked jokingly, knowing damn well that it had been. "Busy, but yours had to be worse than mine," he stated, and her eyebrows raised, agreeing with his words. "What happened in there?" Emerson went on to explain everything that happened inside, from when they got there to when they were allowed to leave. Jay listened intently to every word she says, wondering what she was doing when he was out there, worried about how she was. But that's not something he was going to tell her. "So where's Aaron tonight?" Emerson questioned, a light smirk on her lips. Jay bit back a smile, licking his lips as he tried to figure out what to say. He knew what she was fishing for. Home. She's had a lot on her plate with Bunny lately. Jay decided to tell her the truth, turning the attention away from what she was truly asking. He then explained to her the case Bunny laid on their hands and how Voight meddled in it. "I really hope Bunny stays away. Aaron deserves better," Emerson pointed out, knowing what her mother was like. "And how are you two doing?" she asked directly, figuring that he wouldn't speak about it himself. Jay glanced around them, as if trying to see if anyone was listening. "Okay, why is it that big of a deal?" she chuckled lowly, amused by how skittish he was acting. Jay sighed, figuring it wouldn't hurt to at least tell one person about it. "We decided to give us a try, but we can't really agree on whether or not we tell Voight. It's been messing with my mind a little," he confessed, and Emerson could tell he truly was unsure how to feel about it. The last time she confronted them about it, he seemed happy about whatever him and Aaron were. Now he seemed in between. "Let me guess, you want to come clean and she doesn't?" Emerson supposed, understanding both possible sides of it. She knew Aaron's relationship with Voight. "Aaron doesn't want Voight to know, says it's personal and all. She's right, but..." Jay trailed off, feeling like maybe he was putting too much thought into it. He got the girl. It shouldn't be this complicated. "You're not a sneak behind Dad's back kind of guy?" she answered in a teasing tone, taking a sip of her drink. Jay let out a small laugh, shrugging. "It's fine if you don't want to hide, but I think you know what Aaron's relationship with Voight is like, so you can understand why she'd rather keep what you two have between you two. Plus, with all the stuff with Bunny, this might be the only stable thing she has." Jay smiled at her advice, unable to answer because he was cut off, but Chief Bowden standing up and catching everyone's attention. "Just a quick word. Want to take a moment and let you all get back to the fine cocktails that they serve here at Molly's." "Keep talking, Chief," Herman called out, laughter filling the room. "To the good people at Chicago Med, you made us proud today, and we are very grateful for the service that you do for us and for the city. It's not said enough." Chief spoke up, looking straight at Goodwin as he raised his glass. "Thank you, Chief." Goodwin answered, speaking to everyone. "We want you all to know that every time those doors crash open, there are good people, strong people, people at the top of their game ready on the other side." "Hear, hear. Hear, hear." Everyone repeated the chief's words, smiling from ear to ear, happy to be alive and to be with each other.